Well, shoot, man, you know, we're jumping right into it. We're always official with no intro. Everybody that's looking at this, they know who you are. But, man, take me from the beginning, because I remember one of our previous conversations. Yep. You got such a rich history with this game of basketball, and in a lot of ways it's in you and not on you, whether it was by choice or not. And you come from some very unique stock, man. So tell me about Teddy Owens from the beginning.
Yeah, and we talked about this before, but I'm so blessed to be able to be born into the parents I had. Whether it was my dad being on the basketball side, or it was my mom when my dad was gone, which was most of the time because of coaching, her passions. And so whether I've got a passion for coaching or a passion for cooking, it's from both my parents. Yeah. And so just seeing the way they lived their lives, just from an outsider, but an insider, I just saw their passions and their love for my dad, his players. My mom hosting family dinners and bringing all of us to the table and sharing those memories. You know, one of the things, my wife, I love her to death, but her family doesn't use enough seasoning in their food. And so maybe I think we'd be at the table a little bit more if my wife's family cooked with a little bit more flavor. And so my mom always created an atmosphere. We wanted to be there at the table together, right, and sharing those memories. My dad created an atmosphere of basketball when he was coaching at Kansas, ORU, or overseas in Israel, or even when he was a high school coach at Metro. He created something where people wanted to be around it. People were excited to be part of the team, and they were challenged, but there was always love there. And so I've been blessed to have that opportunity just to be born into something pretty special.
Man, so I always knew that you cook, because we follow each other on social media, and you're always getting busy on the grill or in the kitchen, especially if there's a big game or any function. It seems like you just need a reason or an excuse to get active. So can you think of and remember the first dish that was your baby that you put together yourself? I'm guessing from mom's tutelage.
Yeah. So my mom does it so well. I know, like, not to step in that lane. She does it like that's her masterpieces. Right on. So I just let her cook those deals, and then I take twists and do some different stuff. So like my wife, she said, "Hey, after practice, can you come home and cook dinner for the boys before you go over and do this deal?" And so cook smash burgers quickly on the grill, and I'm the only one. My wife likes onions, but the boys don't. So, but it's just it's a good avenue for me. Just kind of step out, and that's kind of my relaxation. It's kind of my silent time. You know, when I go like to Sam's Club, I love to go to Sam's. We know it's going to be $250 later, but it's just peaceful to me to get away and just kind of be in my element a little bit. So I love cooking, but I know what my mom does really well, and I'm not trying to recreate that.
I hear you. Did she have to say, "Come here, boy, come on in this kitchen," when you were coming up, or did you just naturally lean on her and flock toward it and find it yourself, so to speak?
No, it was cooking was never, whether it was my grandma, it was my grandpa. My grandpa's Polish, so he's always cooking potatoes. Right on. So he was always frying potatoes. So there was always a conversation in the kitchen. It was never, I'm just locked into this. There was always a welcoming vibe in the kitchen. And so she never said, "Hey, this is how I do it. This is how much butter I use," whatever. We just wanted to be around. We just wanted to be around family and just talk. And so it's almost like being a coach's kid in a way. Like a lot of the stuff you pick up just from being around and just seeing it a little bit and just seeing how it's done and the timing of things and everything. And so, like, my son's going to be in high school next year.
That's crazy.
I've worked with him in basketball, and I've coached his AAU teams, but I haven't been over the top with it. But he's around our guys. He watches games all the time. He doesn't just watch highlights. He watches games.
Big difference, by the way.
Oh, yeah, huge difference. And so his IQ, his basketball IQ is just from being in the gym. It's not me saying, "Hey, you need to do this, this, and that." It's just him picking up, "Hey, that was a good play. My dad said that was a good play to that guy. Okay, now I'm going to try to recreate that." And so I think, you know, me being a coach's son, I picked up a lot of what my dad did. The tough thing for me was, as the game changed so much, my dad still knew like some of the little things he wanted to do or what worked for him back then, and now the game is so different. And so my dad he'll give me kind of some of his thoughts. I'm like, well, Dad, we can't really put two guys on the post anymore. And he doesn't say that, but like he has good knowledge of, hey, maybe you should work on this a little bit more in practice, or you guys aren't screening inside shoulder, maybe work on that. So just little pieces here and there. But the cool thing about him, and what I'm trying to do with my son is let him be his own person and not tell me, hey, this is how you need to do X, Y, Z. Just kind of learn on the go a little bit, to have your own flair, have your own personality to it a little bit. So it's having him as an example has really been good for me as a dad. Just kind of be able to sit back and just say, okay, like this guy created the book on what it looks like to be a good dad. Now I'm trying to do that too.
Would you say, on the basketball tip, does your dad still love the game, or has he resented it so much since it's changed so much? He's still a fan?
There's some things, like we struggle with the Euro step early.
Yeah.
He's like, that's a travel. Like,
I thought the same way.
You can't dribble, leave off of one, hop onto two, and then not be 3 steps. And so, like, he's had to let some of those things go a little bit, and old guys, like, they are stubborn. And so
the purest of the game.
Yeah, I'm like, Dad, it's gone. It's gone.
You gotta let it go.
It's gone. Like drive series, he would teach drive series back in the day, and on a catch, he would rip back to triple threat. And now I just don't think you can rip back to triple threat. I think you catch it in triple threat, but that back foot can't take a defeat step, because then guys are just too good defensively. They just climb in you.
Yeah, now you're turning your back.
Yeah. And so he's like, Teddy, do you work on triple threat with your guys? I'm like, not like you did, Dad. Like some of it's really good, but just got to teach a little differently. So I try to have him in the gym once every few weeks. Just keep him fresh. He's 93.
Right. He just celebrated a birthday not too long ago.
Yep, not too long ago in July. Yeah. So just keeping him fresh. He loves being in the gym. He loves talking to our players. I brought him in once this summer and let him work with our forwards a little bit. And just for me, just sitting back and just eating it up was really special to me, because I see his passion for it, and his passion for the game, his passion for his players is why I'm passionate about it, and why I wanted to be a coach. Once I realized like I didn't have it like that, so got to coach.
The way you explained your son to be sort of just like a sponge, hanging on to everything that you're saying and you're doing, and the how, were you the same way when you were a young boy running around up under your dad?
I don't think to the extent my son is.
Okay.
I was a little bit more social, and I had other things I wanted to do. And the tough thing, and I'm trying to find this balance with my son, is my dad was so much older that he almost took on like a grandpa role, in the sense that he wanted me to be happy, really didn't push me hard enough, and he wanted everybody to be happy all the time. Gotcha. I want my son's passion to be his passion and not my passion, and if he wants to do it the right way, I want him to be the one, hey, Dad, let's go get in the gym. But at the same time, I've got to be honest with him and say, hey, listen, dude, the play you made today that I saw today was really special. Now, if you take care of your body, you take care of your sleep, you take care of the other stuff, like it's going to work out. But you've got one shot at this. And I can't force you to be in the gym. I can't force you to go work. But if you want to do this, I'm right there. I'm riding with you on this deal. So he loves it. He's more passionate about it than I think I was at his age. Better player than I was at his age. Much better player than I was at his age.
Look at you.
And
Are you being honest, or are you just putting them over?
No, yeah, really being honest. Like some of the stuff, like we both watched enough basketball growing up that we had the creativity and the IQ. He's a much better shot maker than I am, and puts in much more time at that. Right. Like I was going out there, I had passion for the game, but my passion was to make plays for other guys. He's got a better balance of like he can really shoot it, but he can get guys the ball where they need it. He's super unselfish.
You gotta love
but
that.
He's just worked out harder than I have.
Have you've coached him? You're coaching him now currently, right?
Yeah.
Have you coached him every step of the way?
I tried. So I gave Coach Wallace, Oliver Wallace,
Yeah.
who's got
the
son.
doc.
He's got a son, Olin, who's at Carver, and then Oliver, his oldest son, is at Booker T. He coached Layton for a little while, and then he kind of thought that, okay, I need to step back and give it to somebody else, and so he handed it over to me. And then I tried to hand it over. This last year,
Right.
and I had my assistant, who I love. Colby Brown is not a guy who's coached in high school or college, but he's coached AAU basketball, and he is the most incredible man for young men, and he's been my assistant for a few years. And so we talked about stepping away, trusting somebody else.
Both of you were going.
Both of us, and
Okay.
we were going to let it happen. And we went and watched a tournament, and the ball wasn't moving. And not only that, I get some of that. Like they're still at that age where they're not thinking make the extra pass.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to swing it side to side. They're thinking, okay, just go get a bucket, and
Get
that's
a
what
bucket.
because that's what they watch. I mean,
Yeah.
like when they're watching highlights, like Spurs highlights from like the Duncan days, they're not always on the reel.
No.
But
Gotta go search for
ISO, like that's on it. And so we're sitting there watching, and my wife's like, "Hey, you got to coach again." And I'm like, Ash, like I need a break after
Yeah.
the season. Like Layton will be fine. And the coach, I really trusted him, but the kids weren't moving the ball. They weren't getting back on defense. They weren't playing with a sense of pride.
Yeah.
And so my guy Colby Brown looks over at me. He's like, "Hey, my wife just said the same thing. Like, we got to think about this." I said, "Let's talk to the boys.
Right.
If the boys want that, if they want their dads coaching them, cool, we'll do it." But and I was thinking, my son, he's done with me for
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
he needs that break. He needs that break. And he's like, "No, Dad." He's like, "We're at a good place." And it took us 3 years to get to a good place where he understood, I just need you to work really hard. I need you not take possessions off on defense. And you do that, you turn it over, you miss a shot, cool.
We can live with those.
Like you just playing your butt off. You getting through screens. You're not just making easy switches because it's convenient. Like you do that, we're good. And then I'll let my assistant, who I trust, I'll let him coach you on some of those hard things. Like if I look over and he's slacking, like I know, hey Colby, I'm gonna pull him out of the game. I need you to get him right here because you're gonna say it better than I can say it.
Yeah.
So having assistants who get you and also get the kids, like that's huge.
Yeah. I would imagine those aren't easy to find either, man.
No, it's not. It's not. Like everybody wants to make money. You're not making money in AAU.
No.
It's hard to find assistants in middle school where they're trying to work a job and trying to find those hours between like 2:15 and 3:30, and the pay's not huge. I mean, it's hard to find good guys, not because they don't want to, but they got to provide for their families as well. So that's tough. And then the training game's taken so many good coaches, but they're making so much on training that they can't do that. And I get it. I get it.
Things come back to the bottom line. They do. It's not all about the money, but we can't say money doesn't matter.
Yep.
We got to eat.
For sure.
Okay, what I want to ask you before I lose this thought, you and Coach Brown ultimately coming to that decision to first step away, and hand it over. What was the thought process or the feeling that came over y'all to make y'all think that, hey, maybe this is necessary? Was it a matter of separation between you guys and your own kids, or is there something else?
Yeah, there's multiple things. So the first thing is I'm going to coach my son in high school for 4 years.
Got it.
And so I want him to be able to hear from somebody else a little bit as well. Different thoughts, different. Like I think I'm a good coach, but I don't have all the answers. I want you to go learn from somebody else who might have a different way of thinking. I know how we play defense. We play pack line defense here. I want you to get up and deny next pass every once in a while. Because if you do it right and you're playing in college, it might not be my way. So you need to learn different ways of playing the game. So that was my first thought, was give him a little bit of a break from me.
Right.
Just be a parent. The second thing was I had a dad reach out to me, and he said, there's some talk about daddy ball.
Of course.
And I'm like, oh,
That's such an easy card to play,
It's such an easy card to play. It just means your kid wasn't getting it done. And so Now we're going to flip it and say you're playing your son more than my son because he's your son. And I'm just the opposite. If my son's not cutting it, he's coming out.
Right.
If he doesn't deserve to start, he's coming out. And so it kind of hit me a little bit where I was like, nah, I don't need this. My ego took a hit. And I was like, no, I don't like, I'm giving my time up. And I love giving my time up for that. But if it's not appreciated, like I don't have to do this right now because I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it with our high school guys, and my mind's got to be right for them.
Yeah.
So I don't need to be bitter.
I hear you. So it was almost like an overcorrection, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
And you know what? When you first said it, I'm thinking, well, maybe that tank was running a little low because y'all did have a long Holland Hall run last year, and there's we're hooked up. People only see the months of November to March when we're playing games, but man, this thing really doesn't stop.
Right.
So how were you after that? Were you staggering into the summer, or were you back energized and ready to go by then?
No, it was good. There was it took me a little while because in my mind I was like, okay, I'm breaking right now. Like I can still have my hand in some basketball stuff. I can still film study and all that, but like not coaching, just sitting back and watching. Like I thought that was going to be good for me, but I think the best thing for me is being in the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm passionate about it. I love teaching. I love seeing kids accept what you're telling them. And when they get it right, and they're excited about it, like there's no greater feeling. Like we had a freshman today who we're trying to tell those guys, one, I don't play a ton of dudes. Like I play usually about 7 guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can play 6. I mean, you get a state tournament, I might play 5.
Yeah, listen, we got to tighten that rotation,
it just depends.
Coach.
Like we're gonna go try to win.
Yeah, man.
And so I've been trying to tell these guys, listen, you got to do something that stands out because we're gonna get some football guys here soon, and I know what they can do, and they've already played varsity minutes. Like, what are you doing that stands out? And so this kid Nick Parchuri gets like 18 offensive rebounds today. And we owe it to him. And he's 6 foot tall, just an animal on the glass.
Right.
And so I'm trying to point out every chance I have. I'm stopping practice. Like, that's how you do it.
Another old boy.
That's how you do it right there. And just hype that dude up. And I think that's the best teacher you can do for your guys is explaining how important that guy's effort is and just praising their work. And so I love seeing that. And I love seeing him being excited for that praise. But I also like, when you get on a guy and seeing how they respond to that, like I like that. And I like the team building aspect.
Isn't it a trip whenever you have to get on one of your better guys, one of the guys that are highest on the depth chart?
You have to.
Yeah, you do. And it's almost like twofold.
Yep.
You get to see what they're made of,
Yep.
and you also set the tone with everybody in the gym may not be as good as him. They understand, if that's what time it is with him, I know what time it is for me.
Right. Right.
Man. Okay, so you got 2 sons though, right?
I got 2 sons.
You got 2 sons.
I've got
we
2
talked
sons.
a lot about the oldest.
Yep.
Tell me about the baby boy.
The
What's
youngest,
his
the
story?
one who's going to take care of us later on. In life. Yeah. My oldest said he's going to be rich, but his grades haven't necessarily shown that he's not going to Harvard right now. Like, he might go to my alma mater, OSU.
Right on.
So the youngest, they're totally different, and the youngest has different passions than the oldest does. And it's kind of cool because there are things I might not be passionate about, but things he loves. And so just seeing your kids being passionate about anything is cool. And so the youngest, I'm actually coaching his soccer team as well.
Hey.
And so like
they got you stressed out.
Oh yeah, they've got me stretched out. But I love it. I just it's just seeing the kids excited for each other. We're trying to teach the third and fourth graders. We're trying to teach them how to be leaders instead of us leading. We talk about it. We talk about all the time as coaches, like a player-led team. There's nothing better if it's done right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so rare today. It's so rare today. Kids are more worried about what's popular or offending someone that they won't. If you love someone, like you got to tell them they're not getting their job done. You owe that to them. And so hearing our kids in soccer, those third and fourth graders, like speak life into each other or challenge each other. I mean, that's as good as it gets.
We're talking
to me.
That's 8, 9 years old.
Yeah,
right?
9, 8, 9, 10.
Come on, man.
And so, it's no, this place is really special. Holland Hall is really special. But most of our kids have everything they could ever need.
Right.
And so they're not always challenged right now. You know, I got a kid, we just had a kid, like, we just asked them where they were last week, and these are third grade kids. They were in, like, Bora Bora while school's going on. So, like, they've got what they need. Yeah. And this is not everybody.
Right.
But fighting that deal, that comfort, like, I'm comfortable all the time, like, trying to get them out of that is sometimes a challenge. Tough on me. Yeah, yeah. And them getting to understand that, like, hey, I'm not on you because I want to be on you. I'm on you because I love you. I care about you. Like, I want to see you be everything you can. Even if you're not playing college basketball, like, what are you capable of? And so, you know, trying to do that with third and fourth graders and seeing them pick some of that stuff up, that's as good as it gets.
Y'all are definitely molding tomorrow's leaders, as they say.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so the last question I got about your sons. Since you got two, they have two parents. Which one of them is tighter with who, out of you and your wife?
So the oldest is tighter with me. Like, he'll look over when my wife's getting on him a little bit, and he'll look at me because he's seen me. I'm bad about this. Like, when I think she's being a little bit over the top, I might make a face.
Yeah.
So now when she's getting on him, he looks over at me like, she's really don't act like this. I'm like, yeah, don't get me in trouble. Don't start looking at me right now.
You get back to work.
Yeah, so I think he trusts me a little bit more right now because he knows I made some of those faces.
Right.
So I'm just trying not to agree with him. Even though I might think he's right, like, I can't let that happen.
You're going to get it from me, sir.
Yeah. So, and then the youngest, I think he's a little bit more of a mama's boy.
Love that.
So, no, it's a good balance, and my wife's incredible. She's unbelievable in that she lets me live my passion and understands the sacrifices, like, I've got to make. And she's making more money than me. She's got a great job, and she still does everything she can to be there for the boys, like when they need to be picked up and everything. So it's pretty special. So I can go full in on basketball during basketball season because she supports that.
Teammate.
Yep.
Okay, so your athletic career.
Yeah,
tell me about it, man.
Sucked. It's terrible.
What made it so terrible, man?
No, I was a good athlete.
Yeah.
I liked playing a little bit of everything.
That was going to be
tried out football because I thought when I went to Jinx, let me track back. I was at Metro, and in my mind, I'd played outside with my dad and incredible hands.
Yeah.
I was catching everything, every fly route. Like, I looked like Willie Mays in the outfield. He's throwing it over the top, and I'm like grabbing it over my head. And,
you know what I mean?
And so I'm like, I'm wide receiver one. Like, it's not even close. So I get out, and the coach's son wants to play wide receiver. So they stick me at center and say, hey, you get to touch the ball every time. And so
first class
game,
finesse right there.
Oh, they finessed me. They finessed me.
The
it was terrible. And so first play of the game, we play first real game. I snap it. Dude hits me straight back into the quarterback. I sack my own quarterback. I'm like, okay, this isn't made for me.
No.
So then I go to Jinx in a middle school, and I don't play football the first year, but I see the basketball coach in my mind, and so this might be warped reality. In my mind, he's playing the football guys because he's also a football coach. So I'm like, I got to go play football next year. So now this is Jinx.
Right on.
So and this also my dad allowed me to be soft a little bit.
Okay.
So I go out to 2-a-days at Jinx in the summer heat.
Yes, sir.
They already know all the playbook. Every time I'm wide receiver, finally.
Got what you wanted.
Yeah, got what I wanted, until I realized I knew none of the playbook. And every time we're running a play, I'm just running a fly route. I knew nothing. So I'm like, okay, this isn't for me either.
He was outside playing.
No. So I'm soft. I need to be in the gym. And so that's when I kind of ramped it up. And there's a guy in Tulsa named Steve Bontrager.
Yeah.
And Steve teaches shooting.
He taught me.
Mainly shooting. Yeah. It's like every kid who's been around Tulsa who had a dad who's been around basketball probably sent their kid to Steve Bontrager at one point. And so Steve was at Southern Hills Tennis Club back in the day. It's where it's like it's called like Genesis now, but it was like
Right on.
RH whatever tennis club. And so I'd go there. I'd go get on the wrong bus after school to go work with Steve. And I was at a point where I wasn't really confident in my game. And so Steve just brought that back. And just I felt so good about how I was playing. And it stoked my passion for basketball again. And so had a really good high school career. Averaged 10 assists my senior year in high school. Made the state Final Four. And then I go try to walk on at UCF, where a couple of my buddies, Joey and Stevie Graham, who ended up going to Oklahoma State, were going.
Some names right there.
Yeah, and the coach at the time said, "We're good." So I'm like, "All right, I guess that's a wrap."
Yeah.
Like, I guess my playing days are done, and so said, "Okay, I got to go do something else. You know, I'm passionate about basketball. Let's do basketball." So moved back to Oklahoma. Will Reese, who is now a sports agent, was the head basketball coach at Metro at the time, and gave me an opportunity as a freshman coach and high school coach. And it was so good for me to see a coach be so prepared and love his players like he did at the same time, and really try to get the most out of his guys. So I just had an opportunity from day one in coaching to work for a great man. And that's been most of my experience. Oh, shoot.
You got to be a
19,
young boy.
19,
Yeah.
19, 20.
Okay. You got your chops early.
Got my chops early. So I was going to college and coaching at the same time, and did that for a few years. Got on as a manager at Oklahoma State, and then got back into high school coaching again, and then just kind of worked my way up.
What does managing look like?
It's terrible.
You know,
it's terrible. It is. Managers, you get good managers. There's nothing more special than a good manager. And I was not there mentally. I was there to have fun. I was not in the right mind frame.
That was a front.
Oh, it was a front. It was a front. Like, I like being around it. I love being around it. But like, I wasn't all the way in. I wasn't mature enough at the time to appreciate what I was around. And I would say that was the biggest wake-up call for me was we were going to the NCAA tournament. At the time, you had to go to the coaches' houses, and they'd have 2 VCRs. And you'd have Eastern Washington's playing whoever else. I've got to go set the VCR for this time, press record. So now when the coaches come back, we've got all these games of possible opponents that we could be playing. And so my job was to go film at Coach Keller's house, who's now at Stephen F. Austin, the Eastern Washington versus whoever game. And I don't film that game. And so we end up drawing Eastern Washington in the NCAA tournament. And so I get my butt chewed out and deserved it. But I'm thinking, man, what's the big deal? Like, these guys are tripping. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Yes. But then, you don't have huddle, you don't have synergy. Yeah. Like, you don't have the access that you have now. So that was important. It was important.
It's a much more efficient way of doing it.
Yes, yeah, totally different. So it was a wake-up call for me to have someone else tell me I wasn't doing my job right. And I need to hear it. Because I was comfortable at the time. You know, guys would go out of town, they go play at Texas A&M. Man, we're hanging out, and we're partying a little bit, and we're watching the game. And then when they get back to work, then we're working. But I was too comfortable. Yeah. And so being called on my crap was really good to hear. And a lot of people avoid that. Nobody wants to be told you're not doing a good job. Yeah. But we need to be told it when we're not doing it. And so that kind of flipped me and kind of lit a fire under me. I got to pick it up. If this is what I want to do, right? Because I also don't want to be a bad mark on my dad's name. My dad's worked too hard. My mom's worked too hard, and done it the right way, and gained respect from people doing it the right way. For me to crap on him by not doing it the right way, and so I not to the point where I was going to try so hard at everything, right? But I never wanted to disappoint my dad. Yeah. I wasn't perfect, but I never want to let him down.
Speaking of that, You mentioned his name, having his name, and I wish more people thought like that, because I think we can sort of sometimes get in modes to where we think that all of our moves only affect us.
Right.
You know,
right.
we forget. Hold on now,
Yeah.
there's somebody else. Did you ever have to lean on your dad's name to maybe to help you get your foot in some doors at any point during your career?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
I mean, like, we talked about before is I knew I was born on third base. You know, my dad was the coach at Kansas. You know, if he made a call, someone was going to listen. And so, you know, with Coach Kruger, when Coach Kruger got the job at OU,
Yes, sir.
I needed him to make a phone call for me and say, hey, what do you think about my son being a GA? And then the tough thing, and I think is where some people, they aren't mature enough yet. And I was finally mature enough, I think, to really appreciate, I'm not going to let my dad down. I'm not going to let my dad down. And I'm going to do it for me. I'm going to do it for my wife. I'm going to do it for my 1-year-old child. But my dad stuck his neck out there for me. Like, I'm gonna do it right. I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to prove that I'm not just leaning on him. Right. I don't think any of us, I know there's a lot of talk of being self-made. And there's some people who are self-made. There's some people who have almost nobody in their life who are able to make it. But there's a lot of people who have someone who are willing to step out there and fight for somebody that you owe it to them. Yeah. You know, they're the ones putting their name out there. Because just like in coaching, if you go tell a college coach, hey, this kid can play for you, and then that kid doesn't love the game, then the next kid that you're going to fight for, you've lost like the coach isn't listening to you. No. And so kids got to realize that. Adults got to realize that. Like, there's people who are out there fighting for us. Like, we owe it to them, not just us. He worked for me, but then I had to go work for him.
I love that.
To make sure I was doing it right.
Yeah, look, man, people can say whatever they want to say. If you have an avenue in, I think you should go that route. You know what I mean? And if your last name is Owens and it's prestigious, why not use it? Now, if you can't do the job once you get in there, then you're out anyway.
Right.
So why not?
Right.
And I do think that, I can't remember who I heard say it, but I'm good for stealing quotes, but somebody said it who's much brighter than me. It was like, nobody gets all of what they want or all the way to where they're trying to get to totally alone. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Somebody's there.
So self-made is, I mean, we're adding a little extra on when they say that, whether it's my name just comes up in a conversation that you have with somebody else, and you speak highly of me, and boom, here comes an opportunity. Yep. So you and Dad, though, because you talked about him sort of having the grandfather type vibe. Yeah. Can you think of a moment where he had to have one of those come to Jesus type of meetings with you, when you got one of those stern talking tos?
Ooh, there wasn't very many of them.
I
wish I could say there was.
Good,
I wish
good.
I could. I'm not going to tell him about this podcast. I don't want him hearing that he was soft.
Next thing you know, he's going to turn it up next time he sees you.
There was one time I was disrespectful to my mom. I raised my voice to my mom. And my mom looked over at my dad and basically said, take care of it. Yeah. And so he basically, this is the worst story. And this is why I was a bad kid for like the next 6 years.
6, that's
my
a long
dad,
run.
Yeah, it was a long run. It was a long run of getting away with whatever I wanted to get away with sneakily.
Yeah.
My dad calls me in the room and he says, you're never going to talk to your mom like that again. Your mom loves you. She does everything for you. I'm busy doing this and this. She's put it out there for you. And I'm thinking I'm about to get whooped here. Like, for the first time, I'm going to get whooped. All the stories I had heard from my older sisters about getting whooped or a paddle or a switch or whatever.
So he was a different dude during their era.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Got
And
it.
there might be some resentment there because of it.
Fair.
And so now they see us being babied. The dude takes his slipper and says, when I hit it against the bed, you're going to scream.
No.
I wish it was a lie. I wish it was a lie.
Come on,
I wish it was a lie.
Coach.
And that's where I gained an appreciation from being an actor right there. I was like, okay,
oh man,
I'm gonna turn it on. And he did me. He's incredible. He's incredible. Yeah. Did me such a disservice. Mm-hmm. And in his mind, he thought he had gotten through to me, and also didn't want to hurt me.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we can be at parents is. We want to protect our kids all the time, and we need to see them struggle. We need to see them fail. We need to see them have some resiliency. When a teacher emails me, hey, Layton was talking too much in class. I'm going to back the teacher.
Yeah.
There's going to be consequences.
That was the era I came from too.
And I didn't have those consequences, and so the rest of middle school, the rest of high school, I was like, okay, I can get by with this.
Yeah,
like,
man.
I'm not going to be just downright disrespectful, but
Oh yeah, you knew what the line
I
was.
might run this house. I might run this house.
I might run this house in my sneaky way.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So-
Is it hard for you as a parent now to see your sons struggle in any way? And you struggle lightly because a struggle by whatever's going on in their world may not be much, but maybe if it's something like them struggling with a subject, it's kicking their butt, or they're having a tough go at it on the court.
Yeah.
Is it hard for you not to just insert yourself right then and there?
Yeah, at times. I'll go back. This is really simple, but like, just you see your kid tying their shoe when they're starting to learn how to tie their shoe.
Yeah.
And you want to step into the process because you're ready to roll.
Right on. Right on.
But that's not helping them at all. They're not getting any better from that deal. Like, we might be a little faster, but like, I need to see, they need to learn on their own a little bit. They need us to talk them through it, but they don't need us to resolve the issue for them all the time. Like, I want my oldest son, I want him to be verbal on the court. Well, if I do all that for him, if I'm the one always talking, like, he's not learning that skill. My youngest has some vision issues, and so we got to the point where one of the teachers said, I really think you need to hold him back. Like, he's not on the reading level where he needs to be. And for me as a parent, to have that conversation with my kid, who you're going to tell him all of his friends are going on, and he's got to stay behind, like, oof, broke my heart. It broke my heart. But the way he handled it, and he cried. I mean, like, he cried hard, and we cried hard for him.
Yeah.
Because his best friends are now moving on, and so that was tough. That was tough. But at the same time, seeing him fight for his vision, going to vision therapy, doing home stuff at home, pencil push-ups.
Oh, he's doing the work.
He was doing work. He was
That's
doing
what I'm
work
talking
every
about.
single night, and seeing him gain confidence in his work. Not because it was handed to him, because he put in the work. Now he's got 2 friend sets. He's got all the kids who wanted to hang with him are still there. His boys are still riding with him.
That's good.
And then the kids in his grade now he's got confidence. Now he's a leader because he's not stressing at school, because now he can do the job. And so sometimes we've got to let our kids cry, so they can be great. Instead of just pushing them through.
Would your wife say the same thing? Was it hard on her too?
Oh yeah. We had lots of nights where we were sitting there crying.
Yeah, worried about the boy.
Yep.
I love that, man.
Yeah, it was good.
That's dope. Look at super friend now.
Yeah.
Up here and here.
Yep.
He's in the middle, baby.
Yep.
Talk to me. OU. You with Lon Kruger, man. What's your GA role? The GA sounds better than saying the whole word, grad assistant. What they got you doing at that point, man? How much different was that experience from being a manager when you were at Old State?
Yeah, so there's some similarities. You're still paying your dues. You're still doing a lot of the dirty work.
Right.
I think GAs in different positions. I think as a manager and as a GA,
Right.
especially, you've got to have a ton of humility in knowing that, man, I'm going to have to go pick up a kid from the airport. Or I'm going to have to drive coach's car here. If he calls me late at night because he had a few drinks or whatever and he needs a ride, like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to drop everything and do it. You asked me to wash the car, I'm going to do it. You asked me to sweep the floor, I'm going to do it. You got to pay your dues. And I think, I think they're a lot of the same. Coach Kruger made us, and not everybody does this, and this is where he kind of ruined the game for me a little bit, is that he was so respectful and so caring of everybody and making sure everybody felt like part of the family, that it was never going to get any better than that.
Yeah.
He made you feel special.
So he didn't just throw that word family around.
No. So we get done with the game at Lloyd Noble, and there's a big meal afterwards. And so our families are there. And my wife my wife was never treated like a GA's wife. She was treated like a family member.
Right.
I mean, there was no separation. And it wasn't just Coach Kruger. It was Coach Crutch, who's up at Omaha now as head coach. Is Lou Hill, who passed away few years ago, who was coach at UTRGV. It was Coach Henson, who was just at UTSA. It was all the support staff. Like everybody made you feel special. The assistant coaches would take me and the other GA out to eat, and he understood, like, we're not making a whole lot of money. We're gonna go treat these guys. We're making plenty of money.
Yeah.
We're gonna go help these guys out. We're gonna teach them the game.
Yeah.
And so it was really special, and that's rare.
That's being
I think
human
that's
right
rare.
there.
Yeah.
Golly.
But I think that's rare in the game where everybody's kind of looking out for themselves a lot of time. So coach was unbelievable. So it started at the top.
Yeah.
And everybody respected how Coach did it. And they didn't want, and same thing with my dad, is nobody wanted to disappoint Coach.
Right.
And so, like, we were all on it. So my role was different. Coach Self once told me I was trying to get on as a GA with Coach Self. And Coach Self said, well, hey, you and your family are going to have to live in Jayhawk Towers and make sure you're watching the guys. Or you can go work for Lon Kruger because he's going to offer you the job. And so I talked to my wife, and we're like, okay, like, it's my dream. My dad my dad coached Kansas.
Yeah.
Like, working for Coach Self, there's not a better coach in the game. But for our family right now, like, being at OU is probably the best thing for us. And so it was the best decision I've ever made.
Man, Coach Self kept it real with you like that.
Oh, he was real. He was real.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
You like just there's a selfless moment.
Yeah.
That's a situation where he wasn't looking out for himself.
Yeah.
One of the good ones.
Yeah.
Okay. So no regrets in that regard, huh?
But he told me, he said, no, I mean, you know, it's always in the back of your head, like, hey, if I would have, what would have happened? Because I think Coach Self is the best at relating to people, pushing his guys hard, developing team, and I think guys love to come back after they graduate and be around him because they know that he got the most out of them. But he told me, he said Billy Gillespie, when he was trying to get on his staff, he said, you got to find a niche. You can't be like anybody else. You're trying to make an impact on the game. You're trying to get a job. You got to find a niche. So at the time at OU, people weren't making graphics really good. And so, like, we ramped up the graphics game.
Yeah.
Now, if you looked at the graphics now, terrible.
Compared to where we are now?
Yes, terrible.
Yeah.
So now that, you know, they've got things you can plug in. They can send to recruits. They know they're playing on a Friday. Like, they're getting their face, their football helmet, and everything on a college graphic. And it's big time now. But I thought we kind of had a hand in changing the game a little bit, and just we really thought out of the loop. We thought, you know, not everybody knows what Oklahoma is. They don't know that, like, we're close to Oklahoma City. We've got to make them think a little different of what OU looks like. So we try to really make it hip and really ramp some things up. And so I thought we did a really good job of that. And then I always thought in the back of my head, Coach Self told me I got to find a niche. So when our coaches would go on the road, I'd make AAU packets. Like, these packets now cost like $300, $400. And so I said, like, let me make it easier on the coaches. I'm going to put all the schedules together. You need to be at this court, this court, this court at this time. Here's a note sheet, diagram sheet. If you see a good set that you like from AAU, like, you can write it down. It was a good packet for our guys. And so Coach Kruger is sitting next to Coach Miles, who had just gotten the job at Nebraska. And Coach Miles sees his book that I made and said, hey, who made these for you? He goes, well, my GA, Teddy Owens did. He goes, would he be interested in a position?
Just like that.
Just like that. And it was, if I don't make the book, like, I probably don't get that job. And so was able to get the job at Nebraska. Spent 4 years there, and we love Nebraska. It's a special place. It's a special place with people who are passionate about Husker athletics. It doesn't matter what sport it is. They do it at a high level.
Was that did that take much deliberation to make that decision?
Well, no, because the second year of my GA-ship was coming up, so I was going to have to bounce somewhere anyways.
Got it.
And so when I had the opportunity to go to the Big Ten and be under a new coach he was a young, energetic guy, I wanted to be around that. And so we were close enough to home that family could come visit, but we were far enough away that we could do our own deal.
Got it.
Kind of grow on our own a little bit.
And it was a different role for you at that point, right?
Yeah.
Now
yeah.
you're president of basketball operations. Was
Yeah,
that right out of the gate?
So I was basically kind of like assistant to the head coach.
Okay.
At my first role.
Right on.
And then the next job, one of our guys, Jaden Olson, left. He left the director of operations job and took another position, and so that opened up. And I think I'd done such a good job the first year that Coach Self said, "Hey, I mean not Coach Self, Coach Miles said, we need someone who, when someone comes in the door, like he'll be good with them. If we need someone to show around on recruiting visits, he'll be good with that." And so I think I earned his trust in a year to then I was given that role. So it was good and bad. It's director of operations is you're involved with a lot of basketball stuff, but you're not out there
on the court.
coaching.
Right.
And so
That's what you were doing your first year, right?
Yeah.
So it essentially took you off the court.
Yeah. I mean, and so, no, in that position, an assistant, like basically assistant to the head coach, I was standing on the side and he said, "Hey, keep notes." A lot of times, like, you know, as a head coach, we see things a certain way. Our assistants see things differently. And then in my role, like, I even thought outside the box a little bit. I would say, "Hey, maybe we do this, maybe we shuffle cut a little bit more." It was another avenue that he could go to and say, "What do you think here?" And not necessarily he's going to listen to me all the time, but just another sounding board.
Right.
So it was good, but I missed coaching. And finally, after 4 years, I was just like, I can't be off the court.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's cool. You're there on the sideline. You're sitting on the bench. You're helping out during the game. And those moments are cool. But they would joke around with me a little bit, and they'd say, "Hey, you seem the happiest when it's basketball camp time during the summer and you're coaching a team." I'm like, you know what? And I sat there and I thought, like, I'm coaching like middle school kids, or we've got elite camp. I'm like, I love teaching the game.
Yeah.
I'm passionate. I'm excited about this.
You got to get your hands dirty, so to speak.
I'm not trying to set up flights. And so
I get it.
It was tough. Like, it was great, but it was tough at the same time.
Right on. Sounds like you listen to whatever that conscience was. Like, all right, I've done as much of it as I can do. So what's your next move after those 4 years?
Yeah, so it was tough because my wife, she was happy in Nebraska.
Loved
like
it.
Our best friends that we made lived right across the street. To the point, like, we'd wake up in the morning and Niles would be in his Hulk costume down in our basement playing. We're like, "Niles, what are you doing?"
What are you doing?
He's like, "I just came over. My parents still asleep." So we're like, "Cool. Like, you guys."
That's some stuff off a TV show right there.
Yeah. Oh, it was. So it was tough because my wife loved Nebraska. I wasn't happy not coaching. And so I had a friend call me and say, "Hey, there's 2 positions in Florida, in Tampa, where I went to high school at, that are available, and they're both good positions." And I said, "Ashley, we talked about maybe moving to Florida with the boys at some point. What do you think?" I said, "I think we'll all be together. Like, you can get a job at the school, I think. The boys will be there. I'll be there. Like,
Right.
We'll be together." And so I go for the interview, and they said, "We'll either get your wife on, either in admissions or HR. We'll get her that position." So I get there, I move out before they do, and that both those jobs have been filled. And it's too late now to turn back. And so we spent a year of really my wife being pretty miserable.
Yeah.
She's so far away from family, and my wife's really close to her family. And the only time I think she really enjoyed it is when we're going to Disney or SeaWorld or the beach.
For the
like
kiddos.
the weekend was great.
Yeah.
The rest of it, the commute she hated. But just being away from family and feeling like the people who I trusted kind of betrayed us a little bit. And she's looking at me like, "Are you leading this family?" I mean, like,
Yeah.
you promised, and I get it. I mean, that's my job. And for me, honestly, I think a big chunk of the reason I want to do it because I want to be around my family again. Because in college, like I wasn't seeing them a whole lot. But also it's some selfishness in that I just miss coaching so much that I was willing to move my family to Tampa for that. And so it was a tough deal. And I love the basketball part. And I love the kids we had. But then when I got a call from Sparky Grober, who the court's named after him, called me and said, "Hey, we've got a basketball opening. Would you be interested?" I was like, "Hey, play it cool. Don't tell them like I'm running home right now."
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to come home. I'd love to be around my dad again. I'd love to be around my mom, my sister, and Ashley, and bring my wife home to her family. And I knew how special this place was because I served as an assistant for 3 years here. And knew a lot of the coaches and the people who worked here were still here because they believe in this place.
See.
And so when I had a chance to come back, it was a no-brainer.
Wasn't a lot to think about.
No, not at all.
Okay, so it sounds like you and your wife both did some sacrificing in those chapters. You being in Nebraska, and like, all right, I've sort of not had enough of this place, but had enough from a fulfillment standpoint.
Yeah.
It wasn't getting it done, but she loved it.
She loved it.
And then you go to Florida. You might have loved it.
Yep.
She hated it.
Yep.
So would you say at the end of your stint in Nebraska, did you stay a little bit longer than what you really wanted to?
So year one, we make the NCAA tournament.
Right on.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. Like, and year two, we thought we were celebrities. I think everybody did.
Yeah.
Because you make the NCAA tournament in Nebraska, like, they're the only high major to never win an NCAA tournament game. And so when they do, they might as well give that coach a lifetime contract. And I think it's going to come this year for Fred Hoiberg. But we got a little big, I think, for our britches a little bit. Like we thought we had arrived.
In year two.
And so that edge that we had that year before softened, and we didn't have the success that we wanted to. And I think everybody was kind of looking around like, what do we need to do here? Year three wasn't great. And then year four, we were getting a little bit better, but we were still kind of nervous, like we might lose our jobs. And so we start getting to that point. I'm like, I might need to get out now before it happens.
Seeing the handwriting on the wall, kind of.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I wanted to be a part of that journey when we did turn it back around.
Yeah.
But I got to year three. I was like, I just don't know if I can do this. And not be on the floor and not be coaching. Try to get a college job in Tennessee that tried to explain to my wife, sometimes you got to take a step back and pay, because at Big Ten, as director of ops, you're getting paid pretty well. You're getting paid a lot more than some assistants are in Division I. So I said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And she's like, "No, we're not doing that.
We've got accustomed to this lifestyle, sir."
I said, "Ash, I think this will be good. This will get me rolling." And we talked about it and prayed about it, and I don't think either one of us felt totally comfortable with it. So did another year, and I just knew I needed for my mental, like to be good for my family. I need to coach. I mean, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And so I need to be in that element.
Right.
Again, wherever it's at. I mean, whether it's coaching, third grade soccer, whatever it is, like I need to be coaching.
You one of those guys. He'll teach anybody, y'all. He'll coach anybody.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So then y'all make the transition back home. Now I know I may be out of chronological order here, but you got a few stints as an assistant at the high school level, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah,
so
tell me about 'em.
So at Metro, worked for Will Reese. We already talked about.
Yes, sir. Will Reese.
And then I had the opportunity to work for Coach Parrish. This is right after being a manager at Oklahoma State.
Okay. Gotcha.
And P was incredible in that we're both fiery guys.
Yeah.
He might be a little bit more fiery at times.
He's somewhere right now jumping around.
And so he was so good for me in that he believed in me and let me really put myself out there as a coach, and really do some stuff that helped me grow as a coach because he believed in me. And then assistant job opened here with David Crines was the coach at the time, and so I spent a year with him, and then he left, and Sparky came back out of retirement and was able to spend a couple of years with Spark, Coach Grober, and then finally got my first head job at Lincoln Christian. And so by that time, I'd worked for so many guys that I'd seen guys do great stuff, things I didn't love, that it really helped shape me, and I was ready to step into a head job, just kind of because the guys I'd been around.
Yeah.
And so I was there 3 years and then got on at OU.
So with that illustrious coaching journey that you've been a part of so far, you're only in head stint number 2, right?
Okay.
Lincoln Christian.
Lincoln.
And
then
third,
the one year at Florida, and then
Florida.
here. So this is
I got you. Okay, so can you compare where you are now, seasoned, been around the block a time or two, you got some notches under your belt, have some success, compare Teddy Owens now to who and how you were when you were at Lincoln Christian and when you were in Florida, man? What are some differences?
I was stubborn. I thought you had to do it one way all the time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't play any zone. I
None.
wouldn't play any zone. We go play.
I know some guys like that still to this day.
Oh man, and I don't want to, but like now, like if it's
got
what
to.
suits our team, if we need to flip some things, you got to do it. You got to give your kids an opportunity to win games that they might not be there all the time in a man-to-man setting. And so we played Tallahena in the state tournament, and I thought talent-wise, we're pretty equal. The day before we go play them, I'd had an hour and a half practice. We're doing war rebounding. Everything's full out. Like, I'm not ramping back practice.
No.
And so I'm just like, hey, we're going to do it. We're going to do it Tom Izzo way. I was a big Tom Izzo guy.
Right.
We're going to do it this way all the time. We're just going to punch.
Like it's
we're going to
October
get
1st.
through. Yes, exactly. We're going to get through every screen. We're not going to switch. And I cost our team a chance to win a state championship just because of my mindset at the time. We're going to be as tough as we can, but I wasn't as smart as I could be. And so I needed that lesson.
Yeah.
I needed that lesson. And I don't think after that season, I thought, yeah, we should have switched some stuff. I was still immature in my coaching journey. Like, I was ready to lead a team, but I probably needed someone to tell me, hey, man, you should do this.
Needed a filter.
Yes. And so my assistant at the time was the most incredible guy in getting me, but might not have felt as comfortable as he needed to say, hey, switch this.
Yeah,
and my pride was probably at a level then where I was probably like, no, we're not doing it like that.
You might not have received it.
No. So I needed that. Then when I go to Florida, we were up 16 on the road in the Elite Eight. And at halftime, we come out, we can't throw the ball into the basket. And if we would have gone zone, maybe a few possessions, and thrown this other team off the rhythm, might have changed the game. But I'm like, no, we're not doing it. We're gonna be man to man. We're gonna be tough.
Yeah.
And I probably cost us, and we still got to get stops, but I didn't play the role I needed to adjust, and maybe just for a few possessions.
Yeah.
And just see, like, is that what we need? And so I needed to fail. I needed to fail a little bit to grow. And so then when I come here, we've got Brock Davis. Brock's 6'5", 6'6", long. We've got Garrett Eaton, 6'4", Nick Fox, 6'4", Kyle Hook, 6'3", 6'4" guard. Like, we're big. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna get up in pressure in man, but we're also gonna play some 2-3 and just funnel everything down into Brock and just let him fix everything for us. Like, we're not gonna give up. We're gonna contest every three, but if we make mistakes, we're going to force them into a drive, and then Brock will take care of it. And we played a lot of zone. We played a lot of zone for 2 years. This year, I think, like, we'll have three guys who are 6'5", 6'5", 6'5". And so I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, but
I'm
we're
like you.
going to play some zone.
Yeah,
We're going to play some zone.
It's not my favorite thing to do because it may be the same thing that's in you, but what's in me is that little voice talking to me like, is this an admission that y'all can't guard this other team?
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like a submission
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, no, I refuse.
Yeah. It's the same reason, like, I won't let our guys in the off season right now, I won't let them area switch. Like, we'll switch handoffs.
Right.
We'll switch some ball screens, but I'm not going to let a guy down there say, "Hey, you take him. He's coming up." Like,
Dog
that's just lazy. Like, we're going to get through stuff. We're going to fight through it.
It matters.
It matters. But the zone deal, and the truth is, a lot of time I don't play it a whole lot. One, because I talk crap about it on Twitter about AAU coaches just trying to win games, and so they're just on play zone.
You don't want to have to eat those words.
Because the kids can't shoot at a young age from outside, so let's play zone and just force them to shoot bad shots.
Yeah.
So because I've run my mouth so much, I can't play a whole lot of zone.
Yeah, true. You put your back yourself in the corner.
Yep.
I've seen this too, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen some instances, particularly when we're talking about younger boys and girls. You know, some teams that aren't necessarily big on teaching a bunch of concepts, they just press the whole game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just make it ugly.
Yeah.
And, get a bunch of buckets and you think that there's some real basketball that's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Make it ugly. And we talk about it. We've got to be able to beat a team. Like, our practices shouldn't be designed for us to beat a team that doesn't pressure us. Our practices should be designed for a team that's going to get in our jocks and push us and really make us uncomfortable. And if we can handle that, then we can handle all the half-court stuff. But if we can't handle the pressure, because most of our kids they're not going out and playing AAU at a super high level,
right.
And so they don't see that all the time. Like, I've got a lot of kids who play AAU basketball at Titan, and so and there's some good basketball there, but there's a lot of bad basketball.
Can't call it elite.
No, it's not. It's not like you better not have a lead on your jersey, unless you're a youth team.
Yeah,
like a young team.
It's
not elite out there. It's not elite.
No, you gotta go abroad and go get that done.
Yep.
Okay, so let's recap last season, the 2023-2024.
You just wanted to talk about beating us on our home court. I get it.
No.
I wasn't going to. I'm happy to relive that.
That was in the last conversation. I wasn't going to go to that. But see, you ripped the
But now that we're here, we'll talk about it.
But I can remember you guys, first of all, y'all won the district.
Yep.
Right? And when I was coaching at Edison last year, I'm still there again. You guys were our season opener. At home, you guys came up in there and beat us by 16. And I was just looking like, okay, this team is well put together and obviously further along in y'all's process at that time than what we were. And I guess that was true about pretty much everybody else in the district because, y'all carried yourselves quite well. But y'all make a run to the state tournament, man. And, we always hear stuff like, you want to get to the tournament because when you get there, anything can happen. Right. And it just seems like no matter how long we've been at this process, 9 months or however long, whenever it ends, it's so abrupt.
Yep.
So, man, what do you do with all of that, man? And how much meat do you think was left on the bone, so to speak, with that team?
The first thing you do is you book a trip to Mexico now and start working on your passports for your kids. So if it doesn't go well, you can go get your mind off it the next week.
Nobody sees you.
So we've done that. We just got to get the passports.
That's it.
But I, honestly, and I'm not just saying this because we've been there 6 straight. I think it's a real achievement to get there.
Yeah.
Especially, I think the way we've done it. Our kids have done it where we've only had one season where we've been the area runner-up. They've gone straight through
the front door
every year, except when we got our butts beat by Kingfisher in the area finals one year.
Right on.
And so. No, I struggle with it, and I've been able to watch the film once, and I had to watch it in pieces. I just couldn't watch it all the way through, and I couldn't just sit down and watch the straight deal because I made some mistakes. Our guys made some mistakes. We all made some mistakes. We talked about being us. We're going to play at this big arena. Don't be somebody else that we've never been before. Stay in tight. No, stay in tight. Don't get separated. They're not great shooters. We got to be in tight. We got to take away drives because the Hopkins brothers are going to drive us. And if we get spread out, we can't guard that one-on-one.
Right.
And so we didn't do a good job of that. and then I didn't do a good job of switching who was one of our best defenders. He's probably our best defender.
Right. On the ball?
On the ball.
Right.
Just an absolute pest. He was about 6 inches shorter than the guy he was guarding. You know, maybe 5. And so maybe I'm doing him a disservice by saying he's that much shorter.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't like he is an absolute pest. But, you know, it's a guy like Donald who just changes the game, how they guard. But this guy got into a rhythm and he was feeling comfortable. And I should have switched heights, just kind of throw him off a little bit. Yeah. Now we're contesting jumpers instead of just pressuring the ball. And I've got to live with that. And so that's tough. That's tough because I thought that was a game we should have won. And those guys were mature. They'd just been there the year before. And so they've got a great veteran coach. But I thought that was a game we should have won. And then I looked at the next one, and Midwest State, Torrey's done such a good job.
Yeah.
But I thought, hey, we can come back the next day.
We got a chance.
I think we got a chance.
Yeah.
And then let's go see what Booker T's got. And then we watched Collinsville. You know, they play super tight game. Everybody played a super tight game in the state tournament. Your guys' game with Booker T. I mean, that was a big time game.
Right.
Our game was a big time game to the end. Collinsville was, and I'm trying to think who was on the other side. But everybody, you know, you want to give your guys a chance.
Yeah.
And you want your guys to give you a chance, put them in positions to do good things. And I just don't think we gave it our full shot.
You said
so
a couple
that
things.
kills me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
You said a couple things that stood out to me. Man, you're big on accountability, I can tell.
Yeah.
So are you a reflection kind of guy? It seemed like, man, after this game, whether it's a win or a loss, I'm like, man, I could have done this right here. I could have done this right here. How long does it take for you to let yourself off the hook after any loss?
When I feel like I made the right adjustment and I've gotten that point across to our guys. Okay. A lot of times, and I think we do this as coaches, and I'll go stand next to my guy Rashad, who's been with me, my right-hand man for this year 7 now, and I'll go over and I might say something about a kid. I might say, hey, he's not doing this or this. We got to get him doing this. It doesn't matter what I say to him if I don't express it to the kid. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
We spitball like that sometimes.
Yeah. we got to get it off our chest and and I'm doing that probably too much. I'm doing that too much. He's not doing this. He's not doing that. Just go over and talk to him and tell him and express that to him. And sometimes we avoid those conversations because we don't want the kids to always feel like we're on them about everything.
Timing is key, though. So
I
100% feel why maybe you just got off his butt about something.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, he needs to breathe for a little bit. But so until I do it, and until they get what I'm saying, because it might make sense to me, but until I can express it the right way, I let that linger.
Yeah.
Or if it's a game we lost that we shouldn't have lost, that sticks with you forever. I mean,
even more than the wins.
Yeah, yeah.
And another thing you said, which is, it almost made me laugh because no matter how much we tell our athletes not to do this, when that bracket comes out of the state tournament, of course you're looking at your matchup who you got game 1, but you're also looking at your route.
Oh yeah.
Who could we possibly match up with in the semis and the finals and all that? Yep. So when I heard you break it down, like, okay, if we could see such and such tomorrow, is it hard to fight that off?
Yeah, I mean, you always express to your guys like, hey, let's just be laser focused on the next one, whether it's a play, whatever it is, like just right in front of you. Knowing that you're also looking at the next game as well. Your coaches are scouting some of those teams you're going to be playing, and the guys, it's human nature.
It is.
And so, especially with what they have in social media now, and people, seems like everybody's got a highlight film.
Oh, yeah.
And so they see all this stuff all the time. And so it's hard. It's hard to tone that out. It's hard to tone out the noise and just stay laser focused. And like we've had off season since, middle of August, whether it's lifting or they're in the gym or they're in the weight room with us. that's a long time to be in the gym.
It is.
It's a long time to hear my voice.
Yeah.
And so something I did this year is I brought in Will Holloman, who does some training locally.
What a name, brother.
Has produced 3 Division I athletes
Right
who
from
are
his own
all
home.
shorter than 6 foot. Tay might be taller than that now, but just to keep him humble, I'm going to say he's shorter
There
than
you go,
6
there
foot.
you go.
But
Watch
he's
it.
like
Like
he's helped create some like big time basketball players who just through work. And so I've developed a good enough relationship with him that I say, hey, will you come in for about 4 Mondays and work with our guys? And I'll just kind of sit back and listen. I can't do that very well. So every once in a while I get up and I try to go talk to the guys and
Start
say,
ad-libbing a little bit.
Yeah. But let him coach them a little bit and let my staff just kind of relax right now. We just kind of watch things.
Yeah.
And it was really good for us.
You don't stop learning, man.
No, you
No,
can't.
I
You
can
can't.
tell.
And the one thing I want to do, and I wish we'd get on the same page as trainers, is I wish there was a relationship between high school coaches, AU coaches, and trainers where none of us felt threatened by the other. And we were all together for the betterment of the kids and say, hey, man, I want to go watch David Mason work somebody out. I want to go watch Chevis work somebody out. I want to go watch Will Holloman, Austin Wright, whoever it is, Steve Bontrager. Any of these young guys, Noah Cheat, like I want to go watch them. What do they do really well? I'm a really good coach. Am I a great trainer when I'm breaking down fundamentals? So I need to grow in that area. So for me to be able to sit back and watch other people train and work people out, that's beneficial to me. On the flip side of it, I wish trainers would come in, they'd say, okay, not one coach is saying we need to do a 4-dribble combo move.
Right on.
Like, we're 0.5. Like, we want to catch it and we may want to make a decision right away. We're shooting it, passing, driving it. I don't want to stall the ball out. I don't want the defense to set. And so I wish there was that relationship with all of us where
Since
we
we're sharing
all,
athletes.
we all lived in this together for the right reason, and we just set egos aside because I think there's a lot of talk right now of AU basketball in Oklahoma and how toxic it is because people's egos are getting involved instead of like, why are you in this? Why are you in this? Like, the money's not that good to be in it because of your coaching career. Like, let's just do this right. Let's do it right.
And when it's done right in all 3 of those lanes, it really is helpful, man.
Yeah.
We've seen some good products, some products that come from a good trainer, a good coach in AAU and a good high school program, and they flourish.
Right.
All right, so to rip that Band-Aid off in a different
Yep.
way, when you guys lose your last game last year, you know you got to go in that locker room. You got to address those guys. You got to look at those wet faces, and you got to say something meaningful, even though they probably will not remember it. So
No, they're not hearing a word I'm saying.
man, how was that?
And I know that. My dad told me once, I think it was Tom Osborne, who they lost a big game at Nebraska. It might have been to OU. And reporter asked him, he said, man, what are you going to say to those guys? You don't want to lie into them. He said, what could I say that would make them feel any worse than they already do? Why do I need to go in there and blast them? Because they've just been through with you. I mean, they've been all season. They've been in a dogfight with you all year long. Like, we're going to let one game ruin a relationship or lied into them. Like, it's not worth it. And I've seen that before. I've seen that in college where the coaches felt like they had to make their point right then, and just like relationships are so much more important. And I'm not perfect. Like I'll
still a competitor now.
Yeah, I'll make some mistakes here and there, or even though they're not mistakes. Like, some guys need to hear something then.
Right.
But for me, last year it was Carter Benton, who
Hell of a game.
I went to as a 7th grader. And I saw his skill set offensively. I said, Carter, I want you to understand now, if you're in play for us as a freshman, you got to guard. I know you can shoot the ball. I know the ball's going to go in the basket a good bit. But if you can't guard somebody, I can't play you. And seeing him take that to heart. And then seeing him go through some struggles as he grew in high school and wasn't making the extra pass to guys. having that hard conversation where I had to tell him, dude, you got a teammate. You're drawing two guys, that teammate's wide open in the corner. And him not understanding that at the time, because in his head, he'd put in the work. Mm-hmm. He earned that shot.
Yeah, me shooting over two is better than you shooting.
Yeah. In his mind.
Yeah.
I said, Carl, it's not going to win us a state championship.
Right.
Like, you go have 30, but if we're not making the right play, it doesn't matter. And so seeing him put his ego aside and his career achievements aside and do what was best for the team and purposely do it, and see him in the deal that we have now in college basketball where people are looking at the transfer portal, they're not looking at high school kids.
Yeah.
And seeing him struggle to be recruited by teams that I knew he could play for right away, and him put team in front of worried about what's going to happen later on.
Yeah.
And just trust and believe in me. My biggest focus was I had to let him know, and I needed to let the team know how much he meant to the team. I think some people struggle with that because I made such a big deal about him that I think some people felt like, okay, well, he doesn't like me as much. And that's not it. It's just I need to pay respect and give flowers to the guy who had done everything I'd asked him to do with a great attitude, and sacrificed some of his own stuff.
And I bet you individually he got better too, didn't he?
Oh, he got so much better.
He
was making plays. He was making plays that he wasn't even coming close to making before, just because he was thinking about team. And so for me last year, that's what it was. He was our only senior. I need to recognize him and make sure everybody understands this is the way you do it. So there was some coaching in it, in that I tried to express to those next guys, if you want this to happen, here's the sacrifice you got to make. Because guys, and we talked about it today, we come back from 2 days off and we had some guys look like they hadn't been in the gym for 2 weeks. So you're going to have some part-time guys.
Yeah, that's part of it.
But if you're going to win games, part-time guys can't win you games.
No.
So if you want to play, you got to sacrifice. So those conversations are tough, knowing you're never going to coach a guy again.
Yeah.
That's a tough one for me. Is I never get to be Carter Ben. To him, I might still be his coach, but I never get to call play for him again. I never get, I can live a different way. I can watch him on TV. I can go to games, but I never get to really be in that mix with them, and that's tough for me. Is turning that page.
Yeah, I love the way you put that, man. Very eloquently done. Now, let's talk about this year's team as we head toward the close, man. I don't know what the expectations were that you had set for you guys in this past summer, but did y'all meet them?
Yeah. For the summer, we didn't win many games.
Okay.
Which is good in a sense that I never want to run from a challenge. Like when we sign up for Bishop Kelly, I don't want to play the 3A schools. I want to play 5A and 6A. We get our butt kicked, but it's going to show us where we're at.
Yeah.
Our first scrimmage will be against Putnam City and East Central. Our next scrimmage after that will be Broken Arrow, Edmond, Santa Fe.
There you go.
I don't want to feel good about us in the sense that we're getting stuff easy. I want to know that our guys had to work for it. And I want them knowing I'm going to ride with them through this challenge. And it helps me in a game sense. I'll get on them in practice.
Right.
But sometimes when the lights turn on and you're out there coaching and you can't control a practice, now you get even more worked up at times. And so I need to go through that fire a little bit in scrimmages where I'm not necessarily feeling comfortable, where I'm seeing a struggle.
I can't blow the whistle right now.
Yeah, I can't blow the whistle. I can't stop it. So, and then they get a truer sense of who I am in tough competition. And so then we can talk through some things and have those conversations based off of, I just lit into a kid, Coach, I'm struggling with you yelling at me right now. And I want them to be able to have those conversations. Or I can say, I can talk to a guy like this, but I can't talk to him necessarily in this situation. Man, I need to pass him off to Coach McNeil or Coach Wright.
Learning the personnel, man.
Shut your mouth, stay locked in the game. Let those guys take it for a little bit.
I love it.
So I think we might have won 2 games all summer, maybe 3. We got our butts kicked a lot, but I saw guys grow in their capabilities, their challenges.
Did they stay encouraged, you think?
They stay encouraged.
Good.
And there's some guys who struggled. I think some guys, like, taking on a new role was tough for them. But they need that challenge. They need to be really battle tested. So I felt good about it.
I love it.
Yep.
We're about 2 weeks into practice at this point. In your estimation, how's it going?
It's going
Thus far,
great.
yeah.
We are our best players this year will be guys who have previously been pass first point guards or guys who are defensive stoppers, rebounders, rim runners, not guys who you're running a ton of stuff for previously.
Get it done by committee, kind of.
Yeah.
like
And
that.
so, we could have 4 guys over 12 points every game. I think that's where we're at. And so I'm excited for it because I think the ball's moving a little bit more. I keep on telling them I'm not going to run as much offense, but then when we run motion, I don't think we move well enough.
Yeah,
so I'm calling some offense.
Yeah, here comes the joystick.
Yeah. You better run in transition
Right.
and get a good shot quickly. Because
Well,
if we're walking it up, I'm calling a play.
Those teams are usually pretty fun, though, when it's
Yeah.
sort of, I guess, for lack of a better expression, equal opportunity.
Yeah.
Equal opportunity. You know what I mean?
Yep. So I'm looking forward to it, and I know those guys who kind of waited their turn, they're looking forward to it.
Nice.
And it helps that they're great kids.
Right on.
And so I love our dynamic this year and the guys we have in the gym.
Salute. Last 2 questions, man. Hobbies. I know I got one in my head, but whenever you're not in this gym or on this court or paying your service to the game, what can Teddy Owens be found doing?
Well, you already know cooking.
Yeah, that's
You already
it.
know
That was
cooking.
right there
You
in
already know
front.
cooking, and so the tough thing is we're getting to that point of the season. Once December hits, we're buying meals from Sam's.
That's it.
Which
In bulk,
it is
baby.
fresh market, like Little Big Meal.
Come on, man.
And I'm trying to put the viewers on. Little Big Meal at
Mm.
Fresh Market, $25, feeds 4 plus. It's big time. And I think there's only one Fresh Market in town on 81st and Yale. It's awesome. They have 2 different meals every week. So anyways,
Cheat code.
cooking, it's just being around. It's being around my kids, watching a movie, watching a movie with my wife, watching way too many TV shows.
Yeah. Love a good series, man.
And so we just got done with The Bear. And
Oh, yeah, on Hulu.
on Hulu,
Man, listen,
and
man.
it is
I'm a big fan,
so
dog.
I'm stressed out, but it's such a good teacher in how you can do things 2 different ways and get results. And seeing head chefs be respectful to the people who are underneath them, or a chef dogging out somebody, and that people carrying that baggage and that weight
For years.
for years,
dog.
sometimes a lifetime. And I mean that show stressed me out.
Listen.
Every episode.
I got shows that I'll put on when I'm in the bed trying to wind down.
Yep.
That one can't be one of them. Man.
No, it can't be
I
one
gotta
of them.
be
My
up
wife,
locked in.
my wife, she's like, hey, we gotta watch something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can watch The Bear. You can watch Mr. McMahon. You can watch something else. Like you can watch The Wire, like late at night when I'm asleep, but not while I'm awake.
We'll never get some rest.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, man, last question. What game, this is the all due disrespect segment here.
Yep.
Which game you want to go back to? A team that beat you, had no business beating you at any point in your coaching career. If you could go back and line it up and run it back and see what it's like today, which game would you go back to?
Okay. Game I loved and game that I want to run it back. My first year here, we were playing Manford. Manford not lost a game all year. And we're playing them in the area finals with a chance to go to state.
Right on.
Tight game all the way through. I saw how they were playing Brock Davis. And I'm like, okay, we got a baseline out of bounds with about 12 seconds left. We're going to run pop, which is a flat look. We pop him back to get a catch, and then we're going to swing it and kind of run flex action. They've been jumping that pass all game. So we're going to clear the opposite block. We're going to start sending Brock back, and then he's going to dive backdoor, little bounce pass. We got a layup. We take the lead.
Nice and easy.
Brock trips.
Oh.
Brock trips. And luckily for the setup, Brock Trips bobbles it. Nick Fox, who had been a role player for us pretty much all year, comes up with the ball, finishes the layup. And for a guy who would just, I mean, like, he's not the guy I'm running the play for.
Right.
But for him to have that opportunity and make that shot and be the one to send our team for the state tournament for the first time in school history, like it was, you never forget that. You never forget that for your team. You never forget that for that kid. Like, we all grow up wanting to be the guy who hits a game winner.
3.
Yeah.
Two.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so not a ton of guys get that. And so he got that. Last year, besides Carl Albert, losing on our home floor against you guys was tough. And I don't believe you have to lose to learn all the time. I think you have to learn when you lose, but I don't feel like I don't think we need to lose to you guys.
Yes.
I thought we could have struggled and still learned, but we go down big to you guys.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was like 18-0.
Yeah. I was like, man, what are we on out here?
Oh, it was
I
wild.
loved it.
It was wild. Yeah. And then we fight back and we take the lead, and then we lose it to you guys, and you guys went in here for the first time. We had not lost a game in here for 3 years. And so that was tough because I hadn't experienced that in a long time here. And our guys hadn't experienced it. And Carter, he had not experienced it since his freshman year. And he felt like his senior year, like he let everybody down because he didn't have a great game. And a lot of that was how you guys played him. But just not knowing how they were going to respond afterwards. And they recovered and they got it. But I hate losing on your home floor. I hate it. When you've got...
And y'all got the epitome. This gym, anybody watching or listening that haven't ever been in this gym, this is the epitome of home court advantage.
It's
now.
home court advantage. It's
For
a little
real.
different than any other place.
And when it packs out, it's loud.
It's loud.
It's loud even if it's
loud.
not packed.
Yeah. So, that was tough just because it was so different. And then you got, and you try to drown this out, but you got all your people like, hey, man, he just lost the game for the first time in 3 years. Like, you don't want to be the guy who lets your people down. And so I had a little reflection after that game. And there's not a whole lot I would change.
Right.
We did what we call dorking Donald. I got that term from Tim Miles in Nebraska, is when a guy can't shoot, we're going to back off of him. And usually you do that with the big man. And we're like, I haven't seen Donald hit a 3 almost all season.
Man.
But if we crowd him, he's going to drive right by us.
Yeah.
And so we back off. Dude shoots, hits one. He hits another. Then DJ hits one.
Yep.
And like all the freshmen are hitting shots. And I'm like, oh, man. So, like, I wish we would have respected him as a player a little bit more. Respect for him was in the sense that I know he could blow by us.
Right.
But I wish we would just played him squared up.
See what happens.
I wish we still had that streak. I
Yeah,
wish
yeah,
we
yeah.
still had
Still
that
that
streak.
I hear that.
'Cause it was a good streak.
Oh yeah, man, and that's what we all want. You hear coaches say all the time, "Hey man, win all your home games, split on the road, and then win all the games you're supposed to win." It's easy to say.
Yeah.
But y'all rolling in here and doing it for 3 years straight.
All right.
Well, Coach, man, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, I appreciate
what I mean? We definitely fumbled the first episode, but this one's gonna make the cut this time for sure. You're definitely one of the best out there, my friend.
I appreciate you, Coach.
Can't wait to see you down the
Thank
road.
You. Yep.